Hey everybody, welcome back to Food News and Chews Radio. How is everybody doing today?
Doing
Sylvia,
good.
how you doing?
Good. Well, I've been bored today because I've been in Kentucky Law Review getting CLE hours. That's why I did a little segment I'm going to talk to y'all about on interviewing people. That's what I did to stay awake.
You know, yeah, I guess there's some of that in my industry, like some continuing education stuff with the American Culinary Foundation. I don't know if any chefs out there are listening, and does anybody really do that? I've found that some organizations, what does it bring to the table?
What about health and safety things for the culinary? Is that like, do you have to re-up your safety certifications?
Yeah, you might have to
and
take
health
tests or something.
Correct. So there is constantly you have to do recertifications for your food handler safely and manager certificates. But like continuing education, I've always thought that would be awesome, and I just never see anything.
Well, in law, I think where you really learn is on the job training. And this is just the rules for the appellate courts and the Supreme Court. And, just if you're a day-to-day practicing lawyer, you're paying attention because there's differences. But you're getting emails all the time, too. And you have to acquire 12 hours a year.
I know it's not food related, but I have a question about law. I have a friend who went to law school, and he graduated, and he goes, when do you guys teach us how to, go to court? And they go, we don't. You don't learn that here. You learn that.
There's a lot more of that being done.
Yeah.
And we have law students in the Legal Help Center, so they get practical experience, too. And there's a clinic program at this law school. So it's starting to happen a little bit. Because, it used to be just theory. Yeah. Everybody thought they were going to go out and do constitutional law. Well, what you do is not that.
Probably.
No.
All right.
Often. You're a problem solver, but...
We are going to talk about farmers markets. Norma's in here because she's the farmers market guru. I know they're
yeah.
And they're still going, even though it's October, as long as the weather's nice. Even if it's not, I've seen the farmers out there and...
Yeah, there's a lot going on in all year round that we don't know about. So Norma's going to give us a little report, a little brief report on that. And Norma, great to see you, gal.
Good to see you. Yeah. Been a few weeks off, but hey, happy to be back. So this is a great time of year for the farmers markets. There's all of the fall vegetables. There's pumpkins and squash galore. There are apples. There are apple orchards, corn mazes, honey. We've got all kinds of wonderful things. So I'll post on Facebook the links to locations, but even scattered across Kentucky. You want to take a great weekend trip, go do some apple picking, get yourself something fun. The other interesting thing, there's so many different types of squash and pumpkins than there used to be. Have you noticed this?
Okay. I got one yesterday I'd never seen before. They're like, this is a new one. I'm like, they make new ones? It was called a butter candy.
Yes.
It's
butter
a new
candy?
one to me.
Yes.
Look this up.
So what happens in the wintertime? Do they actually set up places where people can go? In December, is there any such thing as a farmer's market?
Yeah, it works a couple of different ways. There are a couple of markets. I'm not aware of one in Louisville that actually have a brick and mortar in the winter. However, they have pop-ups in Chevy Chase Farmers Market, for example. They're farmers that are doing the meats and the cheeses and the eggs and that. They'll come at intervals during the winter in that same parking lot, and you can order and pick up. A lot of people are doing Thanksgiving turkeys, and if you don't have your order in already for it's getting late for that. But
what about in Lexington? What's going on besides the Chevy Chase? Is the Lexington's farmer, the Granddaddy one, the one at Cheapside, is it still going on somewhere?
Granddaddy's still going, and they are will have a location, and if I can find out, I'll post that for the winter months. But of course now the two big ones that they have are Sunday, which is more the buyers, and Saturday, which is more the social, and that's going to run through October. So.
Now, is that new? Is that a relatively new phenomenon? Are farmers markets, have they always been and we just didn't know about it? Or is that because people have found them to be so good and popular? Right?
Oh, no. I think COVID was the real, when people realized they could go to the farmer's market, they didn't have to go inside. that was a big plus. And then all of a sudden they started looking and they could see that, the farmer's market has eggs for $6 a dozen. Well, so does the store. So, hey, and so people really started jumping on, and now I think they realize they can get all kinds of things at the market. They don't.
Okay, is there a central place where people can go? Is Kentucky Proud doing anything to announce, or so that people would know?
Yeah, Kentucky Proud has a huge listing on their website of all over the state of the farmers markets, and
even in the wintertime.
Yeah, okay. They'll have what's going on in the winter, and I'll post the links to the Lexington and farmers market, and they'll have that on their website.
Besides food, does it get to be more craft oriented in the wintertime?
Yeah, I mean, they still have the crafts in the winter. Of course, they have the crafts all year long, and starting in the fall now, they really start pushing it because gifts for Christmas, and so forth. So, yeah. So, but the carvings, the craft honeys. There's lots of baked breads, dressings, sauces. Particularly now, people will start having apple butters.
So the discussion on winter farmers markets, and I haven't seen this across the nation. I haven't seen it in Lexington, but we talked about, all right, you've got a harvest season. There's a bunch of canning, pickling, preserving. No, there's plenty of chow chows and barbecue sauces and pickles.
A lot of hot sauces.
Right.
A lot of people doing hot sauces year round.
What would you guys think? Is there a demand out there? What if farmers, producers actually canned, preserved green beans, tomatoes, vegetables? Would that be something?
Sold them.
Yes.
And had them in ball jars, where it's all, and
Biz
sold
up.
them for the winter, right? And you made money on them, but maybe have a CSA style where you're kind of doing a deposit on the
Canned.
jars, and that way you don't really.
I would
you
love
get a
home
discount.
canned. Yeah,
We've
home
invented
canned.
something.
I would love that.
We've
So I don't-
invented something.
It seems like it doesn't have to stop farmers market, and some of these producers, I know they could throw an extra field out there and harvest that at the last and get it. Would it be CSAs that do that? Would it be the local, what do you call the center where you can do cooking? Like, what are they called? Extension center. Is that where it would be done?
Extension offices, yes.
But I've always thought, I always like to go, my Mimi, or my in-law, my grandma, cans and pickle. We get a whole larder for the
Let
winter.
me ask you, because I've never had home canned, like, let's say green beans, for instance.
Oh, they're fabulous.
So
I
we
had
eat,
them
we eat
growing
green
up,
beans
yeah.
out of a can.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
buy the Del Monte, the Bird's Eye, and they're fine.
Yeah.
Are they that much better?
Yes.
Really?
100 times
Yeah,
better.
yeah. Canned grapes. My grandmother would do canned grapes,
Really?
and we'd have grape juice. I don't know if she grew them or if they were
that's
wild. I
interesting.
think there are wild grapes in eastern Kentucky.
Cool.
So anyway,
I know it's been thought of. There's no way that these guys that run farmers markets haven't thought about that. But I don't know what it takes to get it done. I just want to know, would you buy it? Because I think I would. I mean, I think
I
we
would-
live in
I
a
would definitely
region
do it.
where
Well,
that's prominent and you're used to it.
Why don't we
I'd
turn
buy
that?
it.
Why don't we turn that over to our gigantic corporate backing that we have and have them come up with an idea and come to us?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Let's
we're
do
gonna-
it. All right.
By the way, speaking
I'll
of
go investigate with the farmers and report back.
There you go.
speaking of new things,
All right.
so
Thank
I-
you,
had
Norma.
me- You had me searching for squash, and
It's
evidently,
it's candy nut.
well, so there are.
Honey nut.
I just read an article called "Meet the New Squash in Town." There's evidently, new strains of squash. The Kogi nut squash,
What's
evidently.
a
is new.
Kogi nut?
So it looks like a pumpkin that's been glazed under like a frosty, crispy.
Can I
Kreme
see a
glazing
picture?
machine. Yeah, it looks like a pumpkin.
Oh,
but it's like-
that's like a hybrid autumn,
Yeah.
or have you seen a black futsu?
Well, I'm
It looks
looking
like
at
that, but it's like ugly.
the North Georgia Candy Roaster. Is,
That's a long one. Isn't
yeah,
it?
that's a long one. But there
really
are
good.
so many, and a lot of these are hybrids that are just
Yeah.
now becoming
Okay.
a thing.
I got.
There are 100 different varieties of squash.
Yeah, did I know that?
All right. Hey, I know Norma has to leave, but I just want one more thing out of you, okay?
Sure.
Where's the candy? What's
Okay.
hot? What's hot?
What's hot? Okay. Lots. Oh, so it's getting, have you noticed we're getting more ghoulish? The decorations are getting more ghoulish, all that kind of thing. So,
What does it have to do with candy?
well, what it has to do with candy is, now you've got, skull gummy bears. You've got, oh yeah.
I just like plain old.
we're doing chocolate molded kind of skulls and things like that, and so so we're picking up on a lot of that sort of thing for the season. We'll have the traditional apples coated in caramel and so on, and the ever popular candy corn.
All right, thanks, Norma.
You're welcome.
I love that candy corn
Learned so
from
much about squash today.
I could go on and on. I mean, which
so
ones do you like? What's your favorite squash?
I think I don't think I've been exposed to much squash other than the summer squash, like the crookneck and zucchini and those patty pan. But when it comes to winter squash, honestly, acorn and butternut's pretty much all I've ever.
Out of the two, which one do you like? And why?
Butternut. I think it's easier to work with.
All right, so
acorn's kind of a pain in the butt to work with.
That's the decider for me too. You have like a butternut squash or an elongated roaster squash. The long section is all 100% yield. It's meat. If you have the bulbous squash, is half the inside is seeds.
Seeds, yeah.
So you
Like
get
a
a
pumpkin.
little bit of flesh around that seed pod, so to speak. But the longer ones, you get that. Just good meat.
What I found is that you actually asked a farmer this because some, like when you're looking at butternut squash, they're long and they have the bulbous end at the bottom. Some have, like you said, a big bulbous and some don't. There's males and females.
What?
And they're different shapes. One's I believe the male is the one that's thinner, and the female is the one with all the seeds.
I wouldn't tell her that.
Yeah, that's a good point. But so you can go. I want male squash. I want female squash.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, right?
All right.
I mean, what happened? I guess you got to keep them separated.
I guess so, because otherwise you have a lot of
They
patty.
produce-
When the
patty
fridge light
pan
goes
squash.
out,
Yeah, a little baby squash. We got just a couple minutes, and we got a lot of things to discuss on today's show.
Yeah.
But you did something where you interviewed. Some
Yes, I
people.
stood in the middle of Broadway and I stopped cars and asked them what they wanted to hear on radio.
For
No,
$1.
I'm joking. Of course, I was sitting in a Kentucky law update, soaking up hours for my CLE requirements. But I did ask people. I said, "What would you like to hear about on the radio?" And there's nothing earth-shattering about this, but soup besides chili. You remember we were on Jack Patty one morning and he talked about vegetable soup.
Oh, yeah.
And his granny's recipe that he couldn't, and so let me go through them, and maybe in the next segment we can talk more about them.
Yeah.
Quick, very few ingredient things.
Yes.
But quick.
Yes.
Everybody's time starved. Things that make me think and laugh at the same time, like a discussion of Spam or foods that were popular in the 30s and 40s that we used to eat a lot of and don't now.
Yeah.
And all of that. And how have cookbooks changed? From the early days of Betty Crocker, have they really changed that much, or do we just, or what's the world of cookbooks? How's it changed?
Wow.
Anyway, there
They're
you go.
way more. I'll tell you, and I like that because I collect cookbooks. I know you do. You have a big cookbook collection. Cookbooks are way more visual now. They used to just be recipes and methods, and honestly, and kind of annoyingly so, a lot of cookbooks are much more narrative based and picture based, and there's not as many recipes per. If you're looking at a 100-page book, you
Picture-based,
picture 100
yeah.
recipes. A lot of books now are not. There's a lot of stories about the recipe, and
Do you like that?
no, I
No,
don't.
you want to get right to
I
it.
want the recipes. I don't want to know. I appreciate that.
So I can see where like older cookbooks didn't have a lot of pictures because of printing costs. But
Yeah.
I mean, what I see is you've got two different types of authors. You've got cooks and you've got chefs. And chefs produce these really fine, detailed dishes and stuff like that. Whereas a lot of cookbooks that are done by cooks are like, here's a meaty, cheesy
Yeah.
casserole your family will love. And the next page is like, here's a cheesy, meaty casserole.
That's what I like.
It's the same
Interesting.
ingredients,
Okay.
same methods.
Oh, chef.
What do you like?
Well, I mean, I love
probably
those
like 'em all.
coffee table cookbooks
'Cause
with
the
lots
pictures.
of photography and very intricate
Presentation.
recipes. The stuff that a normal person is not going to even attempt to make at home, but they'll buy the cookbook.
Now, let me ask a question because you don't like the picture book kind of thing concept. There is a movement going on. You knew there would have to be a new one, right? That you don't follow recipes. It's called improvisational cooking.
That's just cooking. That's
Well,
that's what
but
you
they're-
should
the
do.
apostrophe at the on
Yeah,
front of
Bringing
the end.
people
It's just
together to do improv cooking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I love
Are
that.
you an
That-
improv cook?
Absolutely. I think everybody.
But you
who
said
has a
you liked
family-
recipes.
Yeah, if you have a No, I like cookbooks. What I like is I like old 1930s church cookbooks. I like
Yeah.
old church cook. Those are the best.
Or the county fair.
County
kind.
fair.
Yeah,
Those
the
are
old
the
junior
best.
league.
Yeah.
Where somebody contributes.
Where Mary put in her biscuit recipe. I love
There's
those.
some treasures in there.
I know.
But how much improv do people put into? Because I mean, do people really follow?
Realistically, I think that the first time an amateur cook at home that wants to make something, I think they follow the recipe to a T.
Right.
I think the second time around, if they like
They
it,
start playing.
they
with
know
stuff.
what it tastes like. They can do their own thing with it, and you're kind of going on memory, and you're just not as, I don't know, detailed about it.
Also, I honestly think more people just kind of cobble together, throw together what they have, working with what, because if you're a parent and you got kids and you're busy by, Thursday at 5:00, you're not running to the grocery store if you don't have anything. We're cooking what's in the house. So I think a lot of that is improvisation. It's also, if you've ever been poor, you've improvisationally cooked because you're cooking
Well,
with what
that's
you got.
what our ancestors did. I mean, they didn't follow. My grandmother didn't have recipes.
I like
She
methods.
didn't have books.
I like methods, not recipes. So a method is like, I can teach you how to make a tomato sauce, but you can switch up ingredients and make 17,000 different tomato sauces with this same method.
Right.
So I think
like
that's what
that.
like a culinary school like Sullivan does for you is
Right.
you learn the techniques and the
Right.
methods,
And
and
then
then you're free.
you can be
can-
creative.
right? And you learn the techniques and method by following recipes and techniques and
Sure.
methods.
That's
but
a way
yeah,
to learn. It's
but-
like the science,
right.
and then you can improv.
Right, but then once you know how to roast
And-
anything, then you can just skip that whole section of the
right,
cookbook.
And
Right.
particularly baking, like pastries and stuff, there is a lot of science there.
Oh, yeah.
And if you
now,
screw it up,
you don't improv with baking. I don't improv with baking.
I mess up baking all the time. You know why?
Why?
I always forget the salt.
Oh, I know. Oh.
There's always like a quarter teaspoon of
right?
Can I tell
salt
you,
in
we got
it.
to take a quick break, but can I tell you a salt story about baking?
Yeah.
Coming next?
I'll tell you all kinds.
All right, hang on. Back in a moment. It's Food News and
Salt
Choose Radio.
stories on-
And we're back. It's Food News and Choose Radio. All right, quick salt story.
Yeah, I
So-
want to hear salt stories.
And I like happy accidents in the kitchen. I screwed up, and I realized I did something better than before. So same thing. Chef was talking about how he always forgets the salt when he's baking. And it's an easy thing to do. 'cause-
Or I'll forget it after I've already mixed in the wet.
Well, so that's what. Okay, so
what's your salt story?
I was making bread. I like to bake bread
Yeah,
bread all the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
And one day, same thing. Forgot. I was kneading it.
Forgot
I
the
already
salt.
had it in the mixer. Everything was done, and I forgot the salt. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to throw it in. It's the bread's already. So I threw it in, and it it was still kneading, and it baked up. Actually, great. It baked up really nice. And
How'd it taste?
It was actually higher. Perfect. It was the
Really?
best bread I ever made. So I was like, this is weird. I screwed up, but somehow it's better. And I looked into it, and it turns out in France, when they bake bread, they don't add the salt when they add the water. Because the theory is that the salt kills the yeast. So they don't add the salt.
Oh,
they actually
science.
do everything and then add the salt last. After
But
the
you
bread's
didn't add
already-
it at all.
I did. I just added it
Oh,
after.
it was by accident. Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
I learned that that's actually the better way to do it.
So it's a
Well, I learned to
science
bake
issue.
bread from German master pastry chefs, so I don't know that.
So chef, there's so much science in baking, right?
exactly.
Like salt killing yeast, and I mean they fight with each other. There's ingredients that because I think baking. And like chocolate chip cookies, for instance,
Yeah.
I've asked you before, how do I make chewy ones? How do I make crunchy ones? And I've been craving a chocolate chip cookie, and nowhere are they very good. I kind of end up liking mine.
Yeah, right.
And they're very plainly done.
But that's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, and they're kind of crunchy and.
I don't know. I think the term, like what we describe as cookies out there, has gotten pretty muddied. Like there's big cakey cookies that I wouldn't consider a cookie. They're more of a scone.
It's almost like a muffin top.
And then there's like thin, crispy cookies that I'll call like a lace kind of feel
lacy
to
cookie,
it,
yeah.
where you melt your butter instead
Yeah.
of. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what I'm down to, Sylvia. Too. I think the best cookies are mine, like the ones that I like.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they're
And
better
I've
than
sort
everybody
of
else's.
by
It means I
accident-
like them the best.
Mine are a little oily and they're cooked probably too long for most people, but
See, I like them a little underbaked.
You like them underbaked. Yeah, you like the chewy ones. Well, I've been anyway. I try not to do
It's a
it.
very personal. No, it is a very personal
eat too many
thing.
of them.
It's like religion. It's very personal how you like your cookies.
Yeah.
Because I'm with you. I don't. If
And I
you give me
want
like
one.
I do. Oh.
And
Go ahead.
guys, well, why don't you follow my recipe and cook me some? Because I don't want to have a bunch of cookies around the house because I'll eat them all.
Yeah, me too.
It's amazing though how one thing, just changing the state of the butter will change your cookie. melted butter, room temperature butter versus cold butter.
The chemistry and the ingredients and everything about baking, I'm telling you right now, there's a conspiracy, and every single ingredient in the baking pantry is out to ruin your day. I mean, I'm telling you, they're just
my gosh.
I'm seriously, they just
Okay.
you have to nail it, and that's at a restaurant level. I mean, at home you can mess up, but you can't really mess up anything baked in a restaurant because it's just so cheap. You can go to the store and get a nice loaf of bread for $2.50. You're just not gonna accept any kind of subpar thing in a restaurant.
That's right. That's right.
And also,
you can't have a dry cake. You can't have you have to be the perfect cookie. So
if you mess up like a batch of cookies, you've messed up a lot of cookies.
You have.
If they're not good, you got a lot of bad cookies.
You got a lot of cookies and cream ice cream you're making.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We don't throw anything away.
Okay, chef, you have some
Bert?
things. You're going to talk about a new menu and about some other kind of exciting things that.
Yeah.
In your usual wonderful way of describing food.
Well, I'm going to do my best here. We're a Azure restaurant and patio, but it's almost the end of patio season. But that does not mean we stop, guys, because Azure, if you know us, we have the covered patio, and we have those beautiful tent sides that we put down, and we heat up the patio to give you kind of a garden, al fresco feel even in the winter. Right?
It is wonderful.
So we're going to be turning that room into a private dining room, which is actually got a lot of reception. I think a lot of people. There's only a few places in town that you can have a group of say 20 to 40,
That's
and
right.
have a private room.
I know you've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, so I think we over the pandemic we were able to get a heating system for that tent that works. So we're gonna just kind of have that room booked year round.
Well, let me ask you. I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
So, like on the coldest day in January, can I book that room?
You can.
And the heat system will work.
It will. It's
Wow.
fantastic. So you're still in a covered kind of tent atrium feel. Like if you go out to I don't know, even the castle, right? They have that permanent tent up year round that's heated. We have the same kind of situation, the same stuff inside. So, we think it's got kind of a nice environment. It comes with your own server, bartender, and then you have several packages you can choose from, 20-person minimum. But you can book that anytime November through April for your private events. I know holidays are right around the corner, so this is open for luncheons too, guys. If you got 20 girls that need to do showers and gifts and all that, just pick a package that works for you, and then we can book
Are the hours the same?
Yeah. Now we do need some notice because we're going to staff your event with your own server and your own cook.
How are you doing? Is it a per person kind of thing? And
we start around
packages?
$55 a person.
Okay.
And if you kind of look around, that kind of sounds like you're going to choke. Oh, $55 a person, but think about this.
Is that evening?
There's
evening?
no facility fee. That's going to be, you've got a server for your event, and then it's a 3-course meal. So you're going to get some appetizers, a salad, an entree, and dessert. Actually, 4 courses. We just have those packages involved, and that's.
Is that lunch and dinner?
Yeah. Now we don't have any luncheon prices.
Okay.
But yeah, you can book it for lunch if you have a corporate event or something.
But it will all be all kind of consistently $55 a person.
That's where it starts. Now it goes up to $100 a person.
Yeah, because you might have liquor, and you
might want
have
lobster.
a glass.
The $55 is just for your menu and your.
And it be a so people would have options in the menu items, like you said, lobster.
Yeah,
which would
I imagine
cost more.
if you want surf and turf, it's going to be a little more.
Yeah, so we could put together a package like that. Our top tier package at $100 a person is like a sea bass and filet mignon buffet.
Oh, that sounds
I
delicious.
mean, you can get down the road with your money a little bit, and we'll cater it to what we have. But
can just one person buy that? Because I'd like.
Well, as long as you'll buy enough for 20 people, yes. I mean, there are
really
minimums to opening and heating the rooms.
I could eat a lot of filet and sea bass if given the opportunity. That's all I'm saying.
20
Yeah,
20 orders, please.
That's a great idea.
That's kind of fun for us. And then, guys, I have this whole new fall winter menu, in fact, with beef, pork, and veal meatballs. Actually, I said beef, pork, and veal. We did one run of the beef, pork, and veal, and I liked them, right? But then I did a run of just Wagyu beef meatballs. I like those better. So it's Wagyu
When
beef.
are those on?
They start tomorrow night.
Oh, yay.
So you'll be able to have them by tomorrow night.
Okay, can I ask you a question about Wagyu?
Yeah.
Is that kind of becoming the new beef standard?
It sounds like it, doesn't it?
Because
these different restaurants are
I feel like, or we
serving
just,
it.
I feel like almost if it's not Wagyu, you got to tell me. But
I feel like a turd saying this, but it's what I want now because I'm spoiled.
Really? Yeah.
because it's good.
It's come
delicious.
down enough in a price where a restaurant like Azure. No, we're not the top most expensive place out there, but a restaurant like ours, and we are expensive, can afford to bring that in and serve it. Now we've gotten used to it, and no other steaks compare.
How can
Right.
restaurants that are just, and I won't name names, but that are maybe a notch above fast food are actually serving Wagyu? Like, I don't know.
I
Fast
think
food.
there's a lot
How
of.
is that happening?
I think there's a lot of leeway when it comes to Wagyu and how
Really?
much Wagyu is in, like, let's say a Wagyu burger. If
Does
it's
it have to be
10%
100%?
Wagyu, can you call it a Wagyu burger? If it's 10% Wagyu,
Is there any standard?
There's no standard. There's no rules. But the box has to describe what it is, and it says Wagyu blend.
Yeah.
That's what it's
Oh, it
called.
usually will say
and it'll
that.
have like 20% Wagyu, 80% regular beef. Whereas you used to have the beef to fat ratio.
Right.
Yeah, there's
Now.
different products out there. Like I ordered a burger patty that was part wild boar, part venison, part elk, and part Wagyu.
it's kind of like when you buy olive oil. Like on the
that's
bottle,
true.
it's real big
Yeah.
and it says olive oil. And you got to look back and it says blend.
Yeah.
So, I think you got to. But also, I think
to have a
sometimes
discerning-
what is called Wagyu is probably.
Not from concentrate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
that's right. That's another term.
But you're right. Once you eat Wagyu,
It's hard.
it's hard to go back.
Like we have them on Monday nights at the restaurant.
Are those all Wagyus? They're all Wagyus.
Yeah, every burger patty I have right now is Wagyu.
They're so good.
They're really good. Like
Yowie.
like the way they sear up is they're so fatty they get kind of crispy on the outside, but they stay super
Oh,
juicy
they're
in
so
the
good.
center. And I'm spoiled to death. Like my family is spoiled. I don't want to do that to my kids because they should be able to go to Walmart or anywhere and get just they're kids. They should be able to get little patties and put them on the grill and swim in the pool and be happy,
now
right? No,
you've-
they got to have.
You've
have
ruined your
Wagyu now.
children.
We gotta have a
Yeah.
half-pound Wagyu burger.
It's a bell that cannot be unrung. Once you make it, what are you going to do? They have Wagyu
Okay,
cakes
tell
now.
us about the menu.
Yeah.
Sorry. So we got the meatballs, right? And that's going to be topped with just house marinara, parmesan, and ricotta
that's what
cheese
I'm
because I
getting.
love ricotta. I got this new salad, ladies. This one's for you. It's like we have a chopped salad at Azure, and you all love that. But don't you want a salad that's got all the little goodies and bits and pieces and all the little things in it, but it's
You've
still
got a
filling?
couple,
Love
yeah.
bits and pieces.
So this is called the top chop. All right, you got quinoa, you got shredded kale, you got goat cheese, you got tomatoes, you got toasted almonds, you got dried cranberries, you got artichoke heart quarters, you got avocados, and you got fresh corn, all mixed in a bowl, tossed
And?
with a grapefruit honey vinaigrette. So that's a fantastic salad, and it's one of those that it's satisfying for a meal, especially in the wintertime. I know that's kind of a thing, I
Yeah.
want to have a nice lunch,
Uh,
put a little piece of chicken on that, you're
And
good.
I want to try it, but your house salad is delicious.
That's my favorite salad in the world. So when I make that one at home, Sylvia, and I do, I add beets and fresh oranges.
Oh, that would
What's
be
the
good.
dressing on the house salad?
Balsamic.
It's a balsamic vinaigrette. You want to know how I make it?
Yes.
So if this is just the ingredients. If you guys want to know the method, we could talk about it. But it's a lot of shallot. It's Dijon mustard. Here's the kicker: blue cheese.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Right, brown sugar,
Oh, wow.
fresh garlic, just plain balsamic, and then oil.
Does the blue cheese kind of help emulsify it and hold it together?
And it has
Totally.
it has
And it gives it a
almonds
creamy
too.
feel.
Little
That's a good
almonds
trick.
too.
Yeah, the toasted
And cranberry,
almond-
yeah.
Oh, on the salad, yeah. Toasted
Oh, they're
almonds,
such
cranberries
good
on the
stuff.
salad with the balsamic.
That's
dressing.
about the
trick.
only thing that's good for you that I love.
With the house salad. Just that one.
Otherwise, I want hamburgers and fried chicken.
We got the bourbon hot honey chicken wrap, which is super popular at Runch right now. We're taking our basically southern fried chicken breast that's been marinated in bourbon and buttermilk and hot sauce, and we fry that up. When it comes out, I'm drowning it in soon to be called Jeremyville bourbon smoked hot honey sauce. And it's the
Oh,
sauce
yeah.
that was on the woven shrimp. You've had that one out there, guys, but it's like sweet, spicy, smoky, bourbony that just sops
good.
up in the fried chicken, and then we top that with pimento cheese and pickles.
And that's on brunch or
It's on
lunch?
the dinner menu. It's called the bourbon hot honey chicken wrap.
I'm there.
Yeah, it's awesome. So pimento cheese, lettuce, tomato, pickle, hot honey, fried chicken, all in a wrap.
That sounds
Yes.
amazing.
It's a good sandwich.
And by the way, this new menu starts now.
It's done. It's out. It's rolling. All right, so it's the time of year where we serve short ribs because that's what you do.
And they are delicious.
They're pretty good. I think we almost got this one down. We're rubbing it down with Buffalo Trace bourbon spices. And they have a product line out. It's Buffalo Trace bourbon spice. It's very different. It's got soy malt powder in it and stuff. It has umami feels. It's not like Asian or anything, but it's kind of a dark, earthy spice rub that when you rub that on the beef and then slow roast it for 8 or 10 hours, not slow roast, braise it for 8 or 10 hours, it really makes a nice rich jus, which you ladle over the short
10-hour braise.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So good. And then it has a gnocchi. Isn't it the one that has a gnocchi?
That one, we take a skillet once we heat up the short rib, and we add clarified butter, and then basically take a little butternut squash and brown that in the brown butter, then add fresh gnocchi and kind of brown that together, and a little bit of broccolini and some bacon. And then that's your vegetable underneath that, just fork tender short rib. It's not a bad situation, guys.
Sounds amazing.
It was.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
This one's for Twitch.
Okay.
It's called Sunday Gravy.
Yeah,
I like
you're
it already.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah, so since we have short ribs on the menu, right?
Oh, don't tell me you're making a
yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, since we have short ribs on the menu, like we call them burn ends, on brisket, right?
Yeah.
The same thing kind of happens with your short rib. You got the little ends and pieces.
Yeah.
Well, I've got these nice meatballs here, right? The Wagyu ones, and I got the short rib here, right? And I've got Italian sausage in my tortellini alla vodka.
No.
So, I mean, I've got this, nice rigatoni, a big bowl of that, and I've got a red wine tomato sauce with short rib, Italian sausage, and meatballs.
Dude.
Topped on the rigatonis, ricotta cheese, and Parmesan on that.
Will those meatballs switch over to being the...
Yeah, it'll be Wagyu across the board.
Starting tomorrow.
Yeah, we just waiting on the beef
starting
to
on
come
Friday.
in. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with the beef, pork, and veal ones.
So
Except that Sylvia won't.
Except the veal.
When you talk about the Sunday gravy in any Italian house on Sunday, it's a slow cooked tomato sauce with a lot of meat in it.
Yeah.
And usually it's like you said, odds and ends. It's if you got meatballs, great. If you got sausage, great. But a lot of times it's cuttings from the meat because you buy big pieces and cut them, and it becomes like like a candy of meat.
Let me ask you a question.
I've been using Gennaro's guidelines on marinara too.
Let me ask you this. If you have a weekend to prepare stuff, but one of the people, two or three people said, I need things that are quick. If they can only, at home cooking, find marinara, is there a kind that's better to buy off the shelf?
Guys, I'm really impressed with the Rouse brand. I mean,
I love
super
Rouse.
expensive.
Yeah, they are.
But it really tastes like a homemade sauce.
Okay. And there's Rouse pizza now at Whole Foods. You can get Rouse pizzas.
I'm kind of with you on it's Rouse, and then everything else is a distant second.
Right, which I don't understand. Like, okay, I always thought there must be something wrong with the packaging process, because I know all these other brands have a really good tomato sauce when they made it, but something's lost in the canning and in mass production.
That's what happens.
Rouse did it. So I expect there to be a lot more followers behind
Now,
Rouse.
let me tell you a controversy surrounding Rouse.
It sold for $1 billion.
I know, but there is a lot of stuff in the news because we've talked about it. Why do Cokes taste better in little bottles? Why? We don't know. There's a mental factor here that we think Rouse is better because we're spending more money on it.
That could be true, but I've had it, and it's hard to argue with it.
And if it works for you, then who cares, right?
On that note, show's over. It's been it flies by. You guys have a great rest of the week. Check out azurrestaurant.com, and we'll see you next week here on Food News and Cheese Radio.